Everybody. I know it's morning and not afternoon, but good morning. And thank you all for being here. I'm Joanne Ewing with Reaching Unlimited, and I have this beautiful person here who is going to help us to understand self love. And we were just briefly chatting about it, and we're going to have a deep dive into that today. Hi, Debbie. Can you introduce everybody who
Hi.
you are?
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me, hosting me. I'm so grateful to be here today as a guest on your beautiful show. My name is Debbie Squizzero, psychic medium. It's taken me a long time to step into that title and say, yes, I am a psychic medium. I was a school teacher for 23 years. I was a kindergarten, first grade, early childhood special education teacher. But I've always, we all have, this is what I've learned. We all unfold differently on this mediumship journey. Some of us have experiences when we are kids. Some of us, it's not till like later in life. There's no set way that I feel as though people, like everything else in life, divine timing, it happens when it's supposed to happen. And it happens in the way it's supposed to happen for you personally. I always say, everybody, you have your own unique journey, like a fingerprint, like a snowflake, it's unique to you. So for me, it happened to be in my early childhood, and I was aware of spirit at night. I would tell my mom, close the closet, people come out. That's not everybody's experience, but it was mine. Vivid dreams. And my early 20s into tarot, going for readings. And it wasn't until my early 30s. I've been at this mediumship thing almost 20 years. So I'm in my early 50s now. So in my early 30s, it really opened up for me wide. I went through a very emotional situation, which we all do. We're all here. I always say, well, welcome to Earth School. Here's where we are, the soul coming here to learn, to love, to grow, to teach, to expand, to evolve, right? So in my early 30s, it really blew wide open the mediumship for me, where I could hear people's stuff as they were walking by me at work. And I was like, oh dear. So I had to go check it out. And one woman had walked by me and I heard she was going on vacation. And so I went up to her. I said, hey, you got any summer plans? And she said, we booked a trip to Ireland. And I was like, oh gosh. So when my early 30s, I went to a local healer, and she had told me what many other psychic mediums had told me, that, I have this gift or ability. And I was like, you people are all crazy. No, I don't. I'm a teacher. I do my teaching thing, but I had this passion to help others. So in my early 30s, it really blew open. And from there, I started studying. And this was way before there was anything online, or it was like your local metaphysical store. And mediumship wasn't as mainstream as it is today, right? It's I love that so many more people are open to it. It's more mainstream. So I really was like hush hush about it. I read out of my home for just family and friends. It's where I felt comfortable. Again, that's my journey. Some people like, oh, you don't read for family and friends. I say, listen, everybody has their own journey. This is mine. So, and then I just, for 10 of my 23 years of teaching, I did my business at night. I slowly stepped out, and when spirit doesn't take no for an answer when you are supposed to do something, when you're off your path. So they presented me an opportunity to read at a small place, and then that turned into another to another. So that was like 10 years. I read nights and weekends for 10 years of my 23 years of teaching. And as I got towards the 22nd, 23rd, it was about 2019, where spirit was really showing me, this is where you need to be. This is really what you're meant to do. And I was just fighting it tooth and nail, it's just no, I'm supposed to be a teacher. I'm not worthy. I didn't love myself. I was just and I could see by all the chaos in my life and things going, it's so hard when the hardest thing was take that, look at what goes on in your life, because that's really what's going on. I'm like, oh, no, that's not really what's going on. But oh, yes. That's really what's going on. So
we try to avoid that. We try to avoid what's really happening, and especially something like this, because it's not something that's tangible or that you can actually see. It's something that you have to trust, and trust is an issue with a lot of people. Because you had said that you're just now getting into it. I'm thinking, Well, I think we have our ebbs and flows with that, even as we've been in mediumship for years, that we have those time periods where, like, okay, we're right on the money, everything's going well. And then we get into our head for some reason, stress in our life or whatever's going on. And we're like, so I feel like it's always evolving and changing
Oh,
who we are and developing our trust in the spiritual world, no matter what.
yes, because I feel as though it's such a good point. Our
Mhm.
soul is
Yeah.
always evolving. And as your soul
Yes.
and your life
Mhm.
evolves, your mediumship evolves. I
Exactly.
could look back when I was just opening until now. I mean, it
Mhm.
has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because tell me if you feel this way. I feel as though sometimes like when you first open up, it's like this novelty thing. You're like,
Mhm.
oh
Yep.
wow, right?
Yep.
So you just anything
Mhm.
that comes to mind, you're just like,
Mhm.
right? And then you start to train and you're like, oh, then you get in your head. Oh, so it's
Mhm.
natural. Then I feel like sometimes it becomes unnatural. And
Mhm.
then we go back to being natural again. It's like
Exactly.
progression that we have, the more, and I don't know if you know, but I'm also referred to as the singing medium because I hear a
Mhm.
song. Spirit always
I love that about
dragging
you.
along, and so I hear Miley Cyrus, "It's the climb,"
Mhm.
and that's really like it is, like we climb, and then sometimes we go down, and then we go,
Right.
that Chumbawamba song, "I get knocked down, and I get up
Yeah.
again," and that's how it from most of us, I know that's how it happens, that we have that up and down of the soul.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I feel like mediumship is definitely a lesson parallel to our lives. So I always talk to people because I'm just a philosopher and that's just who I am, but about how there's so many dualities to our actual life and how we're here to learn or what we're experiencing because we have to trust in life because we
mhm,
can't control life. We can't control outside of ourselves what's going to happen. We can't control what change is going to happen in the day. We can't control
yeah,
any of that. And I feel like, at least for me, as I've been going through my training, is that I've really seen the dualities of mediumship and my life. And so everything we talk about here about mediumship really applies to your life as well, is what I kept on hearing when you were talking. Because they're
yes.
really good points about even when we're kids, we see things as, oh my God, it's so great. Life, look what we could do. It's big Disneyland. It's like, yay. And then as we start getting older, we start feeling those pressures of, oh, I have all these responsibilities and I have to do this and my grades and I got to be successful and and we don't ever leave that as we keep moving forward. And then we start doubting, right? Oh, I can't do
Mhm.
this or I can't do. It's the same journey through mediumship because I love how you described in the beginning. We're so open-minded and we don't have all these rules and these parameters we should stay in and not cross this boundary and that's the part, and it's needed though, right? That training is needed. So
Oh,
you
abs
don't walk into a situation and cause harm or
yeah,
cause a problem or get into a problem that you can't get out of or whatever that is. So
yes,
I love that kind of ebb and flow of life, right?
yes, and to validate you,
Mhm.
even, like, last week, I had somewhere where, you get to these places, and then I got to this, like, "Oh god," kinda place where I had to,
Mhm.
like, regroup,
Yeah,
it happens.
it
It's part
does.
I feel like it's part of the journey, it's part of the
Mhm.
mediumship journey.
Yeah,
And the more we do surrender, the more we are of service to our clients.
right.
And we learn to trust ourselves more too.
Yes. And, we were talking in the beginning, and this topic is mediumship to me is whether you become a medium or not, the journey teaches you about yourself. And it
Oh,
really shines the mirror to who you are and the hiccups you have in your own life. We're not going to call them problems, issues, whatever challenges. They're just hiccups in your life, right? And a part of that is self love. And we were talking in the beginning of before we came live about how that journey can be a real struggle in people's lives. I know for me,
mhm.
it has been. It's like when I first started my journey into spirituality, even though I've been in that kind of mindset all my life, it wasn't this jump that I took. I was like, I hated myself. What am I doing? I'm not worthy. I'm not worth being here. I mean, we go through these challenges and
Yeah.
we're not loving to ourselves. So, talk about your journey about that.
Sure. My biggest shakeup was in 2019. So, along the way, I've always struggled with self-worth, always.
Mhm,
Since
mhm.
we all have childhood issues, and
Yeah.
they come forward, they come out. So for me, as the pattern would repeat in my life before I got to my, the self-love and working on it, there was a pattern of the self-worth and not loving myself. It came out in work relationships, in my career in teaching, came out in romantic relationships, failed marriage. It came out in friendships. It was showing up all over the place, the self-worth. And I really was like, what am I doing wrong? I don't understand it. I'm just not worthy of this. And I'd always, we feel like that emptiness. We always have to do more to be more. And I felt like if I do more at work, if I give more in the friendship, if I give more in the marriage, it will just finally be enough. And, or more in family issues, we all have family stuff. So if I gave more to certain people in my family, it would make things better. And so what happened for me was I was giving so much because I felt like, well, the more I give, the more I love myself and the more worthy I am. I was basing my worth on how much I gave to others.
Yeah.
I completely was, I depleted myself. So in 2019, it started in November of 2019, and it was up until January of 2020, where I finally had a stress-induced mental and emotional breakdown. Doctor wrote me out of work, my primary care, and she said, because I had gone to her, I was sick for like 8-10 days. My blood pressure was up. I'm a very healthy person. I had a weight loss journey back in my 30s, 20 years ago. I've kept that up. And that's also part of my mediumship and being, clear. Spirit and all of that. And just in my life, it keeps me healthy. But so she said to me, Debbie, you're never, you're always healthy. She's been with me for more than 20 years. She's like, what's going on? So I started telling her I had this complete breakdown. And she said, you're having a mental breakdown. She goes, you're stressed. You're giving everything at your job. You're giving everything in your spiritual work. You're giving everything to friends and family. She said, you're not listening. And sure enough, I always say that when we're not listening, spirit comes in. They do the tablecloth trick or they do the rug trick, I say. And they whip it out from underneath you. And you're like, oh, crap. You're like, this happens to everybody else. This doesn't happen to me, right?
We have it all together.
Right. And that's where I've learned too, Joanne, like never judge a book by its cover. Because, I'd show up to work. I'm all together. I'm at the outside. I look like I've got it all together. I got my lesson plans done. I got on the inside. I am falling apart. I'm taking tranquilizers. I can't focus. I can't sleep at night. It was awful. So I have learned too, do not judge a book by its cover. Just because somebody looks like they've got it all together on the outside does not mean. I've learned everybody's got a story. Just this is just the cover. There's a story in there. So I had that breakdown, and it was during that time that I was written out of work. I didn't do my spiritual work. I was written out of school for teaching, and my doctor said to me, "You gotta get a therapist." And I said, and I've had one off and on through my life. And I said, okay. And she said, keep up everything else. I know you meditate. I know you journal. I know you exercise. She goes, keep all that up. Get yourself a therapist. Yeah. So it was during that, and I didn't tell my family either that I was going through this, because I felt like I had to figure this out for myself. Yeah. I didn't want anybody either giving me their input or, I just personally felt this was this was a journey that I had to figure out. And it all came crashing down. All these years of like just doing more or putting things on the back burner or not dealing with them. And the minute I had that breakdown and I spent time with myself, because it was me, myself, and I all day, every day for like 2 months.
Well, it is that way anyway with all of us, whether we like it or not, right? It's a me, myself, and I day every day.
Yeah. And there was no school to go to, no work to go to. So that's really, I started developing my practice of being with myself more than ever, and that's when my self-love really started to happen for me and my worthiness. And I had, up until that point, I had toyed with taking a year leave of absence from my teaching job. And I was like, should I? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. No, I'm not going to do it. Now, so deep down, I go, no, I'm not going to do it. So Spirit, was like, oh, we're going to give you a breakdown and then you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
So it was a lot. It was during that time that I had, where everything came crashing down for the better. Like, I always say, hindsight is such a gift, in my opinion. I look back and I say, my God, if I didn't have all that happen to me, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't feel so grateful because for the first time ever, Joanne, I can say to you, I love my life. I love to
Mhm.
be in service to spirit for others because now I found a balance.
Yes, that's
I didn't have a balance before, but
yeah.
that self-love also came through
Mhm.
allowing myself time to journal, allowing myself time to meditate. And you really have to have the self-discipline. This is where I find it's hard for people, and even myself some days too. We have so
Mhm.
much on our plates these days, and we're
Yeah.
so stressed. And
Mhm.
it's a different, we're always go, go, go. And so you really have to make that commitment to yourself and honor it and even if it's, I always say, I don't care if it's 5 minutes before you get up out of bed and you read, I read very inspirational books and literature. And
Mhm.
before I get out of bed, sometimes just 5 minutes, that's it. And then sometimes before I go to bed, I'll journal. Or in the morning, if I have more time, I
Yeah.
will journal. I do meditate every day. That has brought such an inner peace and a calm to my life. I have to tell you, I was the meditator. I was like, well, 3 times a week, great. Once I made that commitment to myself and said, Debbie, you got to do it at least 6, if not every day, even if it's 15 minutes, you got to do it. And I truly have noticed a difference in my life. I have to say, things that used to really tick me off, Joanne, I see it like I'm so calm about it now. I'm like,
Mhm.
that would really, like, back in the day, that would really make me mad. And I see it in a different, and it kind of wows myself. I go, all right, so I love myself enough not to get upset about that and say,
Right.
I'm putting myself first.
I love what you're saying, but I'm also going to jump to the other side of this because what you're saying is important. Like for me, meditation was like I was the same person that I talked to a lot. They're like, I don't have time. I can't do it. I can't stop my mind. I got it. You can't do any of what you said overnight. It's a
Oh,
process of learning. And what you said was it was the balance and getting to the point where you love your job. You love your life. I said, not your job. Take that out. You love your life because that's the big difference there. But it's because I feel like everything that you've accomplished to now took you years to get to. And that's what I want people to feel. Because even me right now, I do all those things, or I've done all those things. I've worked on all those things. I've worked on myself. I've done all the da 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 da. But we always have the ebb and flow in life where sometimes we go back, like we were saying in mediumship. You were saying, I had a hard time last week. I had a hard time last week. And I'm usually the medium that will just go woof. And I'm like, oh, doubting and connecting. And, it's like you have those times. So
for sure.
if you have those moments now where you kind of go back to, I'm doubting, I'm not really enjoying my life, I'm rushing through my life because I feel like in our life, we're performance driven. I have to keep working more. I have to do better. I have to, like, I have a friend that constantly is on me about, you don't always have to be learning. And y'all know who that is. You don't always have to be learning. But for me, I always want to be learning, but it can be much. So when you're having that time period where you're like, I don't want to do my journaling today, or like me, sometimes it's like, I'm not going to do my journaling today. Never the meditation that I do every day. Maybe not as long, but I always do my meditation. How do you deal with that part of your life, your time period?
If it's like not speaking to you, so if it's not like,
Mhm,
I like to have a lot of tools I'm the
mhm,
lifelong learner too. I'm all
mhm,
about it. I
mhm.
always, it's just, I feel like certain people are driven that way. We're
Yeah.
creators, or
Mhm,
by human design, that's who we are, by our
mhm,
soul, by our nature. I'm the same way. I am a lifelong learner. I always want to learn more. It
mhm.
feeds my soul.
Yeah.
But to
Mhm,
answer your question, what do? As a teacher, I always had a lot of tools in my toolbox
mhm.
in my personal life. And I also want to speak to you. Brought up such a great point about how this does not happen overnight. I
Mhm,
was close to 50 years old when I had that breakdown. And so and my mediumship, like I said earlier, started opening in my 30s.
mhm.
So it took me a good 20 years to go on that path
Right.
and, learn what works and what doesn't. But as a teacher, I had a lot of tools in my toolbox, the same thing I have now. So if I don't feel like journaling,
Yeah.
then I will do something different. Like I will do adult coloring. is a beautiful form of like meditation. I will go for a walk. A walk is a beautiful meditation. So I have
Mhm.
different tools in my toolbox that will help me achieve the same thing because true, sometimes you do there's a boredom where like I don't feel like doing this, but I'll do the same tool but in a different way. So it brings that variety. So I like to say I have a lot of different tools in my toolbox, and that's what I love to go for a walk. I moved to the water where I am
Mhm.
in July. So I will go and walk by the water, which is the ocean, which
Uh,
is so soothing.
have
And there
it.
are beautiful bike paths too around here. So I
Mhm.
have different tools in my toolbox. I'll even throw on a meditation from YouTube that's like a self-directed, like,
Mhm.
so I'll just like put it on like guided meditation for 5 minutes, you know? So you at least, I have some sort of tool, even, because I talk about, before I had my breakdown, I had so much going on. I felt like I was just surviving in my life
Mhm.
and I'm thriving now. And so even like with exercise, if life was getting so crazy that I couldn't even do that, you know, I'd find different ways. I took up jump rope. So if I can't get to the gym, I jump rope. So I just have different ways to accomplish the same thing, different tools.
I love that because well, I love the meditation example because there's times where my brain is not going to stop. I just went through a couple months of just it is not going to stop, and I'm just going to have to embrace that. And so because I do like my meditations where I'm just with my team, I love those time periods.
Mhm.
But sometimes your brain can't stop. So using the guided meditation helps because it's distracting your brain. It's helping you to be able to allow the letting go as you're allowing the listening to happen, right?
Yes.
But what I love about that is an example of trying to change because this all comes back to acknowledging that you're going through this experience, this time period, and finding ways to help yourself get through it. Because that's the main part of self love. I'm really not feeling loving to myself right now. I'm
Mhm.
really not feeling comfortable in my life right now. I'm really angry about what's happening or whatever that feeling of tension, like we know in mediumship, when we get that tension, it's that friction that's like, oh, your tightness. I mean, we all feel that in our bodies in our life where you're just
Yeah.
like, like you said, I'm enjoying my life right now. And you weren't always.
No.
But we have those ebb and flows in our life too, where we have that time where we're, oh my God, I've had those times where I just hold on to this moment. You don't want to forget it. And then you
Mhm.
go to those time periods where you're like, oh, let this moment go. I just want to forget it. You know, it's just life, but it's being able to respect and honor. And I love what you said. You said the doing, the give, or giving, and the be, right? You have to do things, you have to keep producing, you have to keep moving forward. I'm in that right now. I have to keep pushing forward. I have to keep pushing forward. And then you have that part of your that nature of who we are, especially as empaths, of wanting to give to people.
Mhm.
And then we do too much of that. And we're like, well, now I'm feeling drained because I'm not being replenished. But the part that you said is just being.
Mhm.
It's just being who you are and allowing yourself to be who you are. So I feel like there's so much in what you said, and there's so many ways that we have to really be able to utilize all these aspects to be kind and loving to ourselves. And we
Mhm.
don't do that enough.
No, and we're kind and loving to everybody else but ourselves.
Exactly. Yes, but we're not taught. As children, we're not taught to
True.
love ourselves. So what does self-love really mean? We wouldn't be able to really express that. I mean, we may be able to verbally say, "Well, I'm gonna give myself a break," or I'm gonna I love what you said about the eating and the taking care of your body, because one of the things that we do our bodies tell us. So I'm a big one on list, and we all are in this woo-woo world because we understand how our body talks to us. But if we're not paying attention, then we're going to miss those nuggets or those pushes that our body's telling us. Because you went 30 years, you went into your 50s actually before you decided to listen. So spirit finally said, "Okay, fine, here we go. We're just going to crash it on you because you're not paying attention." So talk to people a little bit about maybe some of the things that you learned of, okay, these are the things that I missed, or this is the signs that I should have looked for, that kind of thing, to help people to catch it. Because I'm, like I told you, I'm 63 and I'm just now coming out of this. So you're
Yeah.
ahead of the game for me.
always divine timing. Always,
Exactly.
and we learn from each other, right? Teacher, student, and we inspire one another. And I love that.
Exactly.
I had a few red flags.
Okay.
My biggest red flag was because um, I healthy and my weight loss and all that,
Mhm.
I'm very diligent about what I
Mhm.
eat and exercise.
Mhm.
And what I noticed was when Spirit was trying to say to me, Debbie, I really need you to take this leave of absence. Will you please listen? And
Mhm.
Spirit is such an infinite intelligence. They,
Yeah.
they use people, they use any means or mode to get a communication through. And I tell people, listen, they will repeat the message ad nauseum through as many means or modes as possible until you finally listen, right? That
Mhm.
was me. I'm the girl, Joanne, I'm the girl with the round peg, shoving it in the square hole until the day is long.
Yeah.
I am just, that's just who I am. And
Mhm.
I have a family member, it just aggravates to tell you, but it's who I am. And I have
Yeah.
to learn that, right? So
Yeah.
some of my
Mhm.
red flags were part of it. I speak to the health part was because and again, the spirits tell me to finish that sentence. Okay. The message from spirit is always repeating and loving.
Yes, it
So
is.
repeating and
Mhm.
lovingly, they were trying to say to me, Debbie, I need you to really jump into your spiritual work and take a step back. And I could see that, but the
Mhm.
fear, Joanne, kept
Yeah.
me
Yes.
in my very comfortable, secure teaching position.
Mhm.
And my passion and my soul, it was switching. I could feel it was definitely switching. And so what happened was I kept getting sick. It was this pattern of getting
Mhm.
like, I would get very run down,
Yeah.
sick, and I would get better, run down. And I was always trying to play catch up. And then the things that used to bring me like that were not stressful, all of a
Uh-huh.
sudden, laundry, grocery shopping, like these things was, oh my
Yes.
God, I'm so stressed
Mhm.
out. This is
Mhm.
stressing me out. And even making time on my calendar to go to dinner with like my girlfriends. I was like,
Mhm.
so like 3 months from now, can you guys pencil me in? They're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm serious.
Uh,
So it was like spirit saying to me, you're always trying to play catch up. That was a red flag. And it kept getting, the gaps kept getting bigger and bigger. And
mhm.
the overwhelm was getting more and more. So that was a red flag. The
Mhm.
other red flag was my health, constantly
Mhm.
getting sick, run down and getting sick. And I was just like, no, I can do this. No, I'm not listening to you. I'm like, listen, because there's the biggest thing I learned, Joanne, was we're so, myself included, we're so guilty of this, of how is this going to happen? Because I was
All
just like,
big.
right? Because I said to Spirit, I go,
Exactly.
Mariah Carey,
Uh,
make it happen. Like, make it happen, guys. Because like I am scared to death. How am I going to,
uh-huh.
in my mind? I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I have this teaching job. I've been it for like 23 years.
Mhm.
I have benefits. I don't have a significant other who would supply me with my benefits. I
Mhm.
don't like it's me, myself, and I. So all of this fear came in, and I'm just like, so I was just like, listen, you make it happen. I don't know. I got really caught up in the how, and that was like another red flag for me. Like, just let it be. Just let it be. But it's so hard, as we talked about earlier. That
Yeah.
surrender is super hard. So
Yeah.
my biggest red flags were the overwhelm. I
Mhm.
was truly just surviving the constant sickness, like
Mhm.
run down and being sick. Those were like my red flags of spirit saying to me, it's time to shift your life. But I was like all caught up in the how and the fear. And so they decided, I tell people, listen, when you ask spirit
Mhm.
to help heal something in your life, it doesn't mean that they're going to come in and make it, oh, Debbie, nice, heal. No, we're not here for nice. We're here for challenge,
Yes, we are.
growth, evolution, right?
Yeah.
So that's when they said, you want us to heal it? We'll heal it for you. We'll give you a great, big, wonderful breakdown. And truly, it's what I needed, Joanne. But at the time, my life was so like Diana Ross upside down. Like I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. But those were the red flags that helped me understand my self-love and like,
Well, I feel everything I heard you say, it's that battle we have in our brain between I'm a human being and I have needs as a human being. I have to make a living.
yeah.
I have to have a safe place to live. I do anyway. I don't know about everybody else, but I need to have a safe place to live. But when you feel like those things are in jeopardy, we don't trust. And that's again back to mediumship. Again, I'm going to put the two together. How many times do we have to? I mean, it's like we just have to trust. And it's hard to trust when you don't see what's going to happen. That's like the ultimate jump off the cliff and know you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
You're going to be handled. You're going to be taken care of. And we need to know, because we as humans like to control. I need to control at least me, I like to control my destiny. I like to control where I'm going, but we don't always have control, because I agree with what you're saying. And I have to go back a little bit on that is we're not here to have a plush life. We're not here to have this red carpet. I believe it could happen, I guess, if I wanted to manifest that life. And I suppose there are people that have come to manifest that life of just the red carpet opening up and everything happens for them. That's good. I chose not that life in this lifetime. I chose we were going to work really hard this lifetime, so I'm going to think better next lifetime. But anyway, I don't feel like we came, though, to have this plush, easy life. And it was not, though, that we have to have a hard life. And that's the difference in what I feel like you said. You acknowledged that I was aware of this early. I didn't listen. You acknowledged that I could have done something earlier, but I didn't. You could acknowledge that, oh, I like to, and I'm with you, and everybody who knows me knows I am. If there is a square and a round object, I'm going to make them work perfectly fit together. But that's what I chose in my personality. That's who I am. So I love all that you said, and it's being able to accept who we are, but yet still work with spirit to soften that. I know that's what's happened to me, is softening those, because the traits that are my hard traits, I guess I can say, my challenging traits, are also those traits that perpetuate me in my life, propel me to move forward, and give me that drive to want to do something crazy or challenging or really pushing my limits, because that's who I am as a person. And which also is a part of I'm going to have a more difficult life than the plush life that I could have chosen, and I did, and I will do better next time.
Well, what I hear you say, Joanne, is that the more you accepted yourself and who you are, the more you were able to go forward and do what you need to do. And like, for myself, I always tried to change. Billy Joel, don't go changing. Because I would always, there were people in my life who were like, you're too trusting, you're too vulnerable, you too this, you get over it, you're too much. I can't take you. You can't. And I tried to change that. And finally, I was like, kind of like, to piggyback on what you just said, the more you were like, this is like, I am that girl with the square, the round peg in the square hole. And the more we accept, the more I feel as though you learn to, Whitney Houston, learning to love yourself, that you do. But it's the acceptance of the self.
But it's also using those traits that are not bad. They're not wrong. Yeah. They're actually a gift. Yes. But it's using it in the right way, not the wrong, because I wasn't taught how to use. Let me back that up. I was taught when I was younger that what I was doing was wrong. And so I believed it. So that made me have to fight harder to undo what I thought was wrong, but still a part of me that I can't get rid of. It's part of who I am. So melding the two together and saying, how can, again, self-love, right? How can I live a life who I am in peace and in love for myself? And that's always a journey. I feel like our self-love is always morphing and changing as well as we get to know who we are more and more as we get older, which age is always a blessing.
And to piggyback on what you just said, I will frequently say that I personally feel my journey here is a journey of self-love, self-worth, and self-discovery, and also self-healing. I always say that. That's my journey here. I feel like that's everybody's journey here. And at the end of the day, we've all come to experience resiliency in some way, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, one or all of those. We've all come here in the physical to experience those, self-love, self-healing, self-discovery, self-worth with resiliency. It just shows up differently for everybody with circumstances and experiences in their life.
Our society, though, and I feel like it's a blessing, even though sometimes we can think it's not, but our society also helps us with that. And if we trust and kind of want to just be a part of it, and I love what Tracy said, authentic, being authentic can be difficult because it's about really taking the time to know who you are. And sometimes we don't do that, but our society also plays a part in that. We're always being pulled, especially with today we have all the social medias, okay. Like right now, I know everybody's like, get back on TikTok. I'm like, I got to do that TikTok thing. Because it's too much. It's overwhelming. And I got too much to do. But because I'm trying to be what somebody else thinks I should be.
Yes.
Instead of me just saying, okay, the people that I'm going to attract to me are going to be the people that are attracted to me based on my personality and their experience in life as well. And
Yes.
yet we're always trying to conform to be that perfect this or that perfect that. And that's something that we have to really just stop. We have to walk out of the paradigms that society has made and make our own. And that's hard to do. That's very hard to do.
Yeah. Loving yourself for who you are and accepting yourself. We are such a society of comparing and comparison, or we feel that lack all the time. This is what I should be. This is what I'm not, instead of just accepting who we are. And that was my self-love journey. And for me, it was loving myself enough to know that I am a professional psychic medium, that I am worthy to do this work full time, that I am worthy to go out there and help people and serve spirit at that capacity and do what I do. I like to say I kept small and I played it small for a long time, because I felt like, Debbie, who are you? Like, who are you? Like, at the beginning of my mediumship journey, I would refer people to other people. I didn't feel I was worthy. I'd say, I can't sit with you. Go sit with so-and-so. I can't, and the thing, when I said, like, when I was having a struggle last week, the thing that I don't think we do enough, which I had a friend say to me as I was talking to this friend about what was going on. And this friend said to me, I want you to take a look back from 2019 to now. Exactly. And look at how much you have done, and I don't do that. And I think a lot of us don't do that.
We don't.
And I stopped. And this person said to me, Debbie, you wouldn't even put your face on a website. And I didn't. I had a roving picture of the universe, Joanne. I was not worthy to have my face on. Now, go on my website now. It's a different story. But because I feel like I've done so much work in that short amount of time. But I don't think we stop and give ourselves that credit and look back at how far we've come. I know I'm guilty of it. And it was in my face last week. And I said, Deb, you give yourself a break. Cut yourself some slack. You've done a lot,
Yes. And those hiccups that we have does go back to us meeting ourselves again and saying, you are worthy. You can move forward. You can be who you are. It's your ego, or it's that human side of you. It's not your higher self that's taking control. And usually, like for me, when I in mediumship, when somebody says, do this, your body's like, wait, you're making me actually have to commit to something. I don't know. And you know how you feel that way. Yeah. But yet with spirit, everything is right there for us all the time. And like what Tracy said, finally getting to the place where she can be truly who she is, sharing who she is. It's like we create this paradigm. You did, I did. We all do that of I can't be me because of our story. But yet spirit has their hands open all the time for us to be exactly who we are. And like the problem I had last week was also me knowing I'm a damn good medium, knowing I absolutely can hit the mark. Just because of my pressures in life, got into my head going, see, what do you think you're doing? What do you think are you really doing that really? And that's our cop out to not really be who we are. That's our cop out to go back to, like what you said, living small, where we all, could you imagine our world if everybody lived their authentic self?
It'd be amazing.
Wouldn't it be amazing? That would be beautiful.
Yes.
Just want to sit in that one for a minute.
That's part of the journey to get there. That's how it is, part of the journey, because then you appreciate it more. I appreciate since my breakdown, Joanne, I appreciate my life more than I ever have. I never had a gratitude practice. I have a gratitude practice. I will always say, and gratitude for me is not just saying, oh, I'm grateful every day. I'm grateful. It's a feeling for me. It's not just repeating a bunch of mantras every day. It's living in that feeling. I like to say I have a series of pinch me moments. I'll be like,
Yeah.
my friends will laugh. I'll be like, pinch me. It's like, Tuesday at 11 o'clock and I'm at the supermarket food shopping. That doesn't happen when you're teaching. You're in school. Like, my life is so different. And the
Yeah.
freedom, I'm always grateful for the freedom that I have in my life. I'm grateful for that.
So talk to people, because you've talked a lot about your journey, and now you're in that time period where you have that pinch me moment, right? And I've been there. We've all been there where we have those moments like, pinch me. I don't want to forget this. I remember, especially, I love both my kids, but this one was really stuck out when I was holding my daughter when she was born. I was like, I don't ever want to forget this moment. How do you keep in that energy? What do you do to make sure that you're staying in that pinch me moment?
uh, every day, it's the small moments in
Mhm.
every day. That's what it is. I don't take anything for granted. And I mean that. Like, I will frequently say, listen, when I was teaching and before I had my breakdown, gratitude, what's that? Give thanks for my health. What is that? Like, I really didn't, I was just surviving. So for me to stay in that high vibration,
Mhm.
I always say I am grateful for the contrast in my life. And that's one of the things that keeps me in a high vibrational place. I look at the contrast. This is where I was. Debbie, here's where you are. So I'll just be driving. Like, even today, I also like the phrase I get to, right? So today I got up and I said, oh my God, what a great day. I get to meet with another psychic medium. I get to spend time with Joanne. I get to speak with somebody and just live my passion. And then I get to go see some beautiful people tonight. And I get to have this beautiful, not I have to, because my old life was I have to. It was a
Yes.
checklist of I have to.
Mhm.
And I truly, the biggest thing I would say to help me stay in that vibration, it's a small moment. It is those little small food shopping for me at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Like, food shopping was stressful for me at one point
Mhm.
because I had so much on my plate. I was like, oh, damn, I don't even have time to go food shopping. But it's those little tiny moments and even just having my health, like being healthy, because as we know, we are a channel. We are our work. We are a channel for spirits. So
Exactly.
we
Mhm.
have to stay healthy. So the fact that they, help me to live this life with freedom, to be healthy, to be able to serve others, also keeps me in that high vibration. And to know, I always say my mission is to help, to heal, to educate, to inspire, to empower. That's what I want to do with my mediumship. And that also keeps me in that high vibration. So small moments, gratitude practice, the contrast of where I was and where I am now, and mostly just it's feeling like when I feel it, when I say my heart, I can't explain it, my heart just expands. It's this huge feeling I get inside of gratitude. It truly is a feeling for me. It's not just oh, I'm so grateful for. It's not just words. It truly is a feeling for me. And
You
that
know,
keeps
I
me
have
going.
to say this. This is an exclamation point. I always have these moments where I'm like, I just have to exclamation point this. This is very important to go back and really pay attention to this, because this is really, really, really everything in a nutshell. It's how you look at things. What you said is, I don't have to, I get to. And when you have those I have to moments, you're pushing, you're like trying to make it happen. But you could feel that. And Marsha, this is right up your alley. When you're feeling that I get to experience this, I get to do this, it's a totally different energy. And
For
I love
sure.
that.
For sure. Yes. I have a mentor here and she taught me this phrase and it's so true. She would say to me often, Debbie, the thing you resist the most is really the thing you need to embrace the most. So I was resisting leaving teaching and that was really the thing I needed to embrace the most.
Mm,
So I find that when I resist things, I go, oh, this means I really just need to dive in. Just whatever it is, just dive in and do it. Good, bad, ugly, and different. You just have
yeah.
to do it.
And the rest of what you said to that whole segment, I hope people will go back and really listen to it, because it really puts everything in a nutshell of gratitude is it. But I want to come back. The one thing I do want to say about that is you have to start somewhere. And I'm sure you started with, okay, everybody's telling me I need to do this gratitude thing. Okay, fine. I'm going to do this gratitude thing. I'm going to just try it out for a while. And then a lot of times we just leave it because we're not really feeling it. We're not really getting it. But you have to start where you're at. So being able to take those first steps, but knowing that the ultimate goal, just like mediumship, we're feeling into that connection and the awareness to spirit. Because people will say, well, how do you get spirit? You're feeling into it. Your awareness goes into that. You have to do that with all of the things in your life, but especially gratitude.
Yeah.
It's something where you start, okay, I'm manually just going to write every day. And if you have to have a mantra, you write the mantra down, you speak the mantra. But the more that you do it and you allow that feeling to happen, that connection to happen, that's where you start shifting and changing your life. I love that you said that. That was so important.
Thank you. And it's so true though, when they say, when you start to shift on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
then look at the outside, because now I can say, oh my goodness, before I left teaching, when I said to you earlier, like, oh my God, I looked at my outside world and I went, oh my gosh, no, this really isn't what my inside is like. But truly it was, because now my inside is different and my outside is different.
Right.
So it truly, once this, like you just said,
Mm-hmm.
once it does it with those baby steps, just like mediumship, like you said, you made such a great point. It's always these small steps, because that's where I feel the appreciation comes in, and you start to see the efforts of what you're doing. Like I really am changing my energy and my vibration. I really am shifting my life, truly. But we are such a society of instant gratification that, I have learned that when I sit with a client and I say, okay, spirits show me there's going to be a transformation. I go like this, and listen, it's going to be like a year to, like, don't come to me in 2 months and go, Debbie, nothing's changed. And I'm going to say, no, because that's not the way it happens. It takes a transformation takes time. That's what I've learned.
I love also what you said about that change, the inside, because we have our inside and we think the inside is who we are, that friction, that fear, that frustration, whatever that is that's going on, because we all have that part of us. But the transformation that you went through wasn't that you were changing this bad side of you. It was about you meeting the inside of the truth of who you are, that soul you that's wanting to come out and express. That's what the transformation is about. It's not about the universe giving you these hard things, giving you these challenges. They're forcing you to do something. It's about showing you the truth of who you actually are and what you're here to be. And yet we fight it because we're afraid of it, or we don't think it's worthy enough, or we judge it, or whatever we do, when we could just allow wouldn't it go a lot easier if we would just let go and allow it instead of fighting it?
Yes. Or we allow other people, as you were speaking, I was like, check, yes, check, yes, check, yes. And also, I think of how many times people in my life told me, you're too this, you're too that, you can't be this, you can't be that, I can't believe you're this, I can't, and I'm just like, finally, I got so tired of fighting it. I was like, listen, this is who I am. If you don't like me, you're not part of my tribe. And I'm finally at a part in my life where I'm like, I can take it if you want to walk away from me. Before I couldn't, before I'd be like, oh, they don't like me, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Now I'm like, here I am, babe, this is me.
I'm still in, okay, you're ahead of me again. I'm still in that journey, right? Because I'm coming from this, I'm going to say, living in the world mentality and living in the world with spirit mentality, totally different things, right?
Yes.
And, it's all about, because our ego gets involved. We don't want to have our feelings hurt. We want everybody needs to love me. Everybody needs to agree with me, right? We all feel that way. Not everybody does, never have. It's not going to ever happen. But it's being okay with, you're going to attract the people that are right for you, and rightfully so, because if I'm talking to someone who can't resonate with me, they're not going to understand the point. They're not going to understand the purpose. But if they find that right person that's talking their language, then that's how they're going to be able to grow. So we have to bless people who move away and not take it personally.
Yes, they were a part of our journey, either to, like that phrase says, a reason, a season, sometimes a lifetime,
Right.
It's true, and just bless the experience that they gave. I know some of my hardest, I know this is true for everybody, that some of your hardest experiences, there is always something good that comes out of that.
Oh,
there's
yes.
always something good that, and you have to go through that sometimes to find that silver lining, and it's not, and you might not know it for a while. So, it might be years before. I know one situation in my life, it was close to 10 years before I was like,
Wow.
wow, now I get why that happened, and
Yeah.
why that had to happen.
My mom always says to me, because she divorced my father, and she always says to me, I would do it all over again for what I know. And that's
Imagine.
what I have learned too. I would do every situation and step that I took because it created who I am. Now, did I have to do it that way? Probably not. But it was the choice that I made, and I can't undo that. And I embrace those choices and will continue to do that because exactly what you said, it brought me to the place I'm at now. And I love, love, love where I'm at now than where I was living in a lot more judgmental, critical mindset versus where I'm at now. And I still know I'm evolving more out of that, which
Yeah.
I think we do all of our life. That's the purpose of being here.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So it's definitely embracing those, even though they feel uncomfortable or they're painful. It's being able to somehow embrace that. I think for you, you've shown this path that you've taken that really has developed in this beautiful giving of the truth of who you are. You don't hold back, and that's really a special gift that you give to people.
Joanne, thank you. I truly appreciate that. It is taking me a long time to become vulnerable enough to step
Yeah.
out, to do that. But I noticed that when we do that, like you were saying, the things that sometimes we fight. So I always say, well, here's one thing that actually worked in my favor in mediumship. When people are like, Debbie, you're too trusting. Well, it works great when I got to surrender to spirit, because then I just trust, right? That's a one thing that really
Right.
works in my favor.
Right.
But I really, truly appreciate that, because it wasn't always, I realized the more I became vulnerable, the
Mhm.
more I told my story, you become real to people, and people understand and say, you know what, we all have these struggles,
Right.
we all go through things, and it's real. And I just feel as though if I can help somebody or inspire somebody or educate, then that was part of all of the things that led up to where I am now. And so I truly appreciate that. Thank you so very much.
So where are you going now? For some reason, I keep hearing you need to be the comedian medium.
Oh, we actually have somebody. I'm in Rhode Island. I love that we're on the total opposite coast. I think it's the coolest thing. I just love that. We actually have somebody here that is like, that's called, she used to be called, I don't know if she still goes by that name, but she's really funny, the comedian medium. I'm known as the singing medium because I
Yeah,
get so
yeah.
many
I hear
songs.
that too in your talking. You have
Yeah,
songs for everything.
I can't help it.
Great.
When I tell you, I hear they give it to me like it's
Uh-huh.
on the radio. It's
Mhm.
impulsive. I don't even try to make it happen. It just does. It just does. So, what's next for me? Oh my gosh, if you would have ever said to me, like, again, looking back with, when I left teaching,
Mhm.
and I said, I was on my year leave of absence, and I said to Spirit, okay, now what? What are we doing? Are we just in the office? Like, and they showed me at events. And I went, are you out of your head? I am not getting up in front of all those people.
I was the same way. There's no way in hell you're going to get me to do that.
Right? The thing you resist the most
Yeah,
is the
the
thing you
thing
need
you
to
do.
embrace the most, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
So they brought me the venue. They brought me
Oh.
I love where I'm going. I want to continue. I've been doing
Mhm.
events, and I love um, being a channel for spirit, and working in that group environment. A big, small, it doesn't matter. I'm also in my office a couple of days a week. So I'm doing events 2 days a week. I'm in my office 2 days a week.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just finished in the fall a grief educator certification through
Mhm.
David Kessler. I'm really excited to take his expertise,
Mhm.
his knowledge, to put that into what I'm doing. Again, as we talked about being a lifelong learner,
Mhm.
it's just a piece that I felt
Yeah.
for my own learning, and within my own business with my clients. I wanted to have something else. It's just something I felt like that I needed, that I could even bring to my events as
Mhm.
well. Just there was so many different assets and facets of things that I learned there. So I would like to. I've got some stuff in the works
I love
with
that.
that learning that I'm going to take forward in my business and workshops and events. So I'm going to continue my events. I have a YouTube channel. Because for 10 of my years that
Mhm.
I worked nights and weekends, I like to tell
Right.
people, listen, I didn't have a weekend in 10 years. So I worked nights and weekends. And I had a lot of people ask me questions about death, dying, the other side, even like metaphysical questions, like when we talked about being in a vibration and
Mhm.
gratitude, higher vibration.
Mhm.
Really, Debbie, I don't understand. And Spirit has told me, and before I even stepped into this work full time, other psychic mediums said to me, "You're going to do a lot of educating about the other side," which is what I
Mhm.
do, and I love it, Joanne.
Mhm. I would
So I
imagine.
started a YouTube channel where I just took the questions that I received most frequently and
Mhm.
still receive, and I answer them there. So I'm hoping to add more to that channel. So
Mhm.
I have that in
Mhm.
the works, going out and doing more events. I'd like to get on, I go live on Instagram and Facebook, not as
Mhm.
much as I'd like. So that's another thing is I'd like to put that in the works to get on a little bit more there. So
It's not hard to do, but I make it, like I have a routine. So this happens every Thursday. And if I don't have a guest, I'm going to come on usually every Thursday, unless I'm in a whatever, messy week or whatever is going on. But it gets it getting into the habit. But when you do that, I love the interaction. Like we've had a lot, and people know when I get into a conversation, I don't converse with them as much. And thank you all for your comments. And I don't know if you've been seeing them. Do you
no, I haven't.
up at the top right, there's a comment
Oh,
section,
yep.
and you can see what's going on there, but
Oh,
it's all these people are talking. But we've had such a great conversation that was deep, I didn't want to disrupt from that. But
yeah.
it's just getting into, like, I did a TikTok thing because 'cause I've been like, all these people are like, "You have to do this, and you have to do," and yeah, I know Jacqueline, I can reach out to you, but I'm trying to figure it out, and I have to learn something before I do it. So I'm like over analyzing it, overthinking it. Today, right before this, I was like, I'm doing a TikTok and I don't care what it says on there. I don't care what the hashtags are. I'm just going to do the TikTok because I'm not doing it. Takes process and time doing these
It
things.
does. Joanne, I'm so proud of you. I have to tell you, I had a TikTok account for 2 years. I let it sit there. I'm like you. I just started it maybe last month, and it was so unexpected. I did just what you did. I just posted a couple of videos. I said, I'm just going to dive in. It's been
Yeah.
sitting here for 2 years. I did the same thing with my when I go live, I like to do a Zoom. So I like to pull people up on the screen with me. I
Yeah.
like to be interactive. I'm a people
Yeah.
person. I definitely am. I love to be social. So I could not, for the love of God, I could not get it to work the other night. But you know what? Here's what I say. I gave myself credit. Here's my vulnerability at its best. I
Yeah.
just got on. I said, guys, I can't make it work. I'm going to shut it down and I'm just going to come back on via Facebook Live interface. And that's it. That's what I did.
Right.
And I couldn't pull people on. But
Yeah.
I too am like you. I like have to do my homework. But then part of
Yeah.
me is like, Debbie, just dive in, you
I
know?
know, because we're trying to make something, we're controlling it. You have
Yes.
to control everything. You
Yes.
have to control things though. You know what I've been challenging myself on is doing that readings cold where you don't have the voice, you're not really seeing them or in, and which at first I was like, and it's kind of clunky at first because you get in your head like, well, da, 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 whatever, all the head things we do. And I'm actually getting way more comfortable now with doing readings cold like that. It's just like you would understand this. And you have to, as I hate the long delay of,
I
them.
yeah,
It's
I
very
do too.
awkward.
It is, and
Mhm.
it's I don't know. It's not as I love like it's not as personable, and I love that
Yeah.
when I can pull somebody on. Yeah.
But you know what I'm finding, and I felt that because a lot of times when we're uncomfortable with something or we don't know it, then we come up with all kinds of ideas about it. But the more that I'm doing it, I'm finding that it's just as touching to people
Oh,
as if I'm actually seeing them. I know it's more touching. It would be more, it would be deeper if there was that face-to-face, voice-to-voice contact. But
yes.
I'm still finding it's making an impact just by
Oh,
doing it. Yeah.
definitely. I will say to you, people were so, this is the thing I always say, I am just so, again, I'm going to use grateful because I am.
Mhm.
I pop on And there are people that show up, they're so supportive and loving
Right.
and
They are.
kind. And and so it's true. And, and I will jump on. So what I did the other night was I jumped on with my James Van Prague cards,
Mhm.
the Talking to Heaven cards.
Uh-huh.
And I said, think of your person and I will pull a card for you. And then sometimes when I did pull the card, I'd get some sort of information. So I would just throw it out to them. And then later on, they'd put it, I'd see it go in the comments and they'd say, like, like you just said, they would say, oh, yeah, I can take that or that. And
what I found I was doing was spending more time on TikTok and Instagram. And I have forgotten my lovely Facebook people. So I've got to start doing more. In fact, I just did an Instagram card pulling thing. And I was like, why am I not doing this more? It's fun to do. And it doesn't take a lot of time.
No,
It's
I
crazy
know.
to get into our minds. Do you have any golden last nugget you would like to leave everybody? Because this has been like full of golden nuggets. So
Oh, I thank you so
there, but
thank you so much. I just like to remind, like I always tell my clients when they leave me that to remember that we are a beautiful and continuous work in progress here, and that we're constantly healing. Healing is not something you arrive at. It is like the ocean waves. It comes and it goes. We get to this point in healing. It's great. And then we might retract and then go forward again. So I like to tell my clients, listen, I always leave you with love and blessings and continued healing on your journey here in the physical world, because we all are a beautiful and continuous work in progress. And that's where the self-love comes in.
beautiful. Thank you.
So
What a
thank
lovely
you.
conversation. I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you for your time.
Joanne, likewise, I am so grateful. Thank you for having me. You have just beautiful energy, and I have so enjoyed our conversation and our time. Just thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful day and, be you, live your best life. Don't be afraid. All right.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody. I'll see you again next time.